Every time you finish a run, your Garmin throws a bunch of numbers at you. But what do they actually mean, and how can you use them to get quicker? My name's Dan, I'm a run coach and a massive tech geek, and I'm here to help you understand how your gear actually works to make your running easier. So one of the most useful stats that your Garmin watch gives you is something called your training load focus. It's designed to help you balance your training by making sure you're exercising at different levels of intensity. So in this video, we're going to go through what the data actually means, how that helps your running, and then which workouts I'd recommend to balance out your running for a perfect training week. So here's how it works. Every time you finish a workout, your watch analyzes your heart rate data and assigns a training effect to show you how hard you worked during the session and how your fitness is improving as a result. You basically get given points, which are added into 3 categories: anaerobic, high aerobic, and low aerobic. And keep these in mind because we're going to go through what makes them so important in a minute. Now, within each of these 3 categories, your watch is going to give you a primary benefit of your training. And this is the screen that you see on your watch at the end of each workout. You've got your primary benefit, which is color coded to one of those 3 categories. So purple for anaerobic, orange for high aerobic, and blue for low aerobic. You get a score ranging between 0 and 5 for the aerobic and anaerobic effect of your training, and then the overall training load for how hard your watch thinks you've worked overall. So why does all of this actually matter? Now, there's a reason why Garmin is summarizing your training into anaerobic, high aerobic, and low aerobic, and it's to do with the different systems that our body uses to produce energy. So we're going to turn to the trusty whiteboard for a quick high-level explanation of how it all ties in. Now, in order to generate the energy that you need for running, your body has to produce something called ATP, and that's what we refer to as the energy currency of the cell. And you've got 3 different ways of doing this. So first up is purely anaerobic. You've got your creatine phosphate system. You may have also heard it as the phosphocreatine system. It will generate enough energy for the first 10 seconds or so. So it's literally just sprint effort, and that is it. So if we're plotting a graph here of where your energy is coming from and how long it's lasting for, your creatine phosphate system is generating all your energy very quickly. Next up is your lactate system, and like your creatine phosphate system, this is also anaerobic, meaning not in the presence of oxygen. So creatine phosphate, you're breaking down creatine, and here we're breaking down pure carbohydrates. So this will kick in after a few seconds and will generally give you about 2 to 3 minutes of energy. So if we add this to the graph, kicks in after a few seconds here, provides all your energy, and then it settles down. And finally, the one that you've probably heard of, the system we all know and love, the aerobic energy system. So aerobic, meaning in the presence of oxygen. This means that your body can break down carbohydrates and fats to produce energy, which means that it can kick in and it can keep going for a much longer period of time. But here's the thing that you need to remember, and it's why balancing your training is so important. If you look at this graph, these lines are all overlapping each other, right? All of your energy systems work together to produce energy. It's not a case of your CP system kicks in for the first few seconds, then your lactate system picks it up, and then your aerobic system picks it up. All of them are always going to be working together, so you need to be training all of them to get the most from your training. It's not just a case of, oh, I'm training for a marathon, that's an aerobic activity, so I just need to build my aerobic base. You need to have a good anaerobic base as well. Even though you're not sprinting a marathon, you need to be able to produce energy quickly, and you need a solid lactate system to support your other energy systems to keep producing energy over time. If you're training for a marathon and you're just doing zone 2 and you're just building this aerobic energy system, that's great and you're going to see improvements, but you're still going to be let down by these other energy systems if you don't train them, if you don't do interval work or hill sprints or other forms of training to balance your training out. And that's why Garmin gives you a training load focus with recommended ranges for your anaerobic, your high aerobic, and your low aerobic work. So when your Garmin shows you how your training is divided across the 3 categories, as well as a recommended range for each one, it gives you a much better idea of how you're training each energy system and what you need to do to balance your training out. So let's wrap this all up with some of the workouts that I'd recommend to make sure you're hitting those optimal ranges for your anaerobic, high aerobic, and low aerobic training. If your anaerobic bar is too low, you need more exercise that stresses your creatine phosphate or your lactate energy systems. So think about runs with short, sharp intervals where you're working near your limit for up to 90 seconds. This could be hill sprints where you find a steep hill and sprint up it for 8 to 10 seconds, taking a 1 to 2 minute break between each round. Or to work the lactate system more, after you've warmed up, you could do intervals of 400 meters, slightly faster than your 5k pace. High aerobic work is going to be more of your tempo efforts, like a 6 to 8 out of 10 effort level. You might have blocks of 1 or 2 kilometers at your 10k race pace, or slightly longer efforts at your marathon or half marathon race pace. You're working hard, but you can sustain it for longer, and that's going to drive your high aerobic score up. And finally, low aerobic is probably the simplest one to increase. This is your zone 2 conversational, long, slow, easy runs. And remember to check the color of your training effect at the end of your run to make sure it's what you're expecting. Because if you think you're doing zone 2 running, but you're always getting orange high aerobic training effects at the end of your run, you need to run slower than you think. If this was helpful, then make sure to drop a like on the video, let me know in the comments what else you'd like explained, and I will see you in the next one.